I flew over the crest of Court Hill without a bike helmet. My headphones were on, which is why I never heard the pickup truck creep up on my back wheel. When the driver laid heavy on the horn, I nearly jumped out of my skin. You can't appreciate how loud a big truck's horn is until the grill is 2 feet from your ass. You don't just hear the horn, you feel it blasting hot air against the back of your neck, while the wail rattles through your bones. The horn made me lose control and nearly careen over the curb, but I straightened the front wheel and managed to stay upright. I twisted my head around and saw the hardened, beady eyes of a man laughing at me over the steering wheel. Doing what any sane person outweighed by 6,000 pounds would do, I edged toward the curb to give the driver room to pass. He didn't pass. He swerved the grill directly behind me again and blared the horn. I inched closer to the curb, afraid the bike pedal would clip the concrete and I'd tumble over the handlebars. He flicked on his high beams. The smartest choice would have been to hop the curb and get onto the sidewalk, but it was too dangerous to attempt at high speed. The sun was almost down, and downtown at the bottom of the hill was still a mile away. I realized we were the only 2 people barreling down the incline. If the driver was crazy enough to run me over, there would be no witnesses. When I looked up over my shoulder, the driver stuck his middle finger up at me and rode the horn for several seconds. I swerved into the incoming lane, hoping he'd finally pass. As I angled across the road at over 20 miles an hour, the headlight beam swept across the pavement and followed. I veered back, the driver right on my tail. We zigzagged again. I couldn't shake him. The horn brayed in triumph, and I did another stupid thing. I flipped my middle finger back at him. The pickup lurched angrily forward and grazed my back wheel. The touch was so subtle that I wouldn't have noticed if every nerve in my body hadn't been on high alert, red hot and standing at attention. The bike trembled dangerously. I white-knuckle gripped the handlebars, knowing that if I so much as touched the brakes, the bike would fly out from under me and 3 tons of steel would drag me under. The faster I pedaled, the more the driver pressed down on the accelerator. We were one entity, the truck and I, accelerating in lockstep toward downtown. A quarter-mile below, a train of vehicles crossed the intersection, growing closer by the second. I felt the trap closing around me. The motor growled down the back of my neck. Then, the truck whipped around me and passed. He shot downhill doing highway speeds in a residential zone, the red eyes of the taillights glaring back at me. Watching the truck instead of the road, I lost control. The bike tires flew out from under me, and for one awful, frozen moment, I saw the cruel macadam rush underneath and imagined the amount of skin it would tear off my body when I landed. In that precious split second, I had enough presence of mind to clutch my arms protectively around my head. The bike careened over the curb. I smashed shoulder first against blacktop. The air rushed from my lungs, and the pavement peeled away skin from shoulder to hip. It seemed as though I slid forever across that cheese grater of roadway before I finally stopped. Ringing trailed through my eardrums, and when I tried to make a fist, my hands refused to respond. Shaking, I rolled gingerly onto my stomach. I didn't want to see how much skin I'd lost. Strips of shirt were torn away and in pieces up the incline. What I saw of my arm, I didn't recognize. The layer of skin the macadam had excavated was as white as January snow, dotted by pinpricks of blood. I think my body was too shocked to bleed. As I lay at the base of the hill, a car pulled up beside me. A middle-aged man in glasses leaned out the window. "Good Lord, are you okay?" His wife stared from the passenger seat, both hands over her mouth. A young girl in the back seat held a stuffed dog in front of the window, making it dance for me. She seemed quite amused. Putting his phone to his ear, he waved reassuringly and said, "I'm calling 911. "No, don't," I said to his amazement. My school health insurance had lapsed because I took the spring semester off, and my family's health plan wasn't worth the paper it was printed on. "Look, you could have broken bones and a concussion." "I'm fine," I said, cutting him off. He shook his head, muttering something about idiot college kids, and squealed off toward downtown. Then she was there. 1,000 wasp stings stabbed my skin when I moved my shoulder, but when she knelt down and offered me her arm, I took it and crawled up to my knees, vaguely aware of her car, a pearl blue Mazda RX-8 purring curbside. The first thing I noticed was her legs, tan, fit, and sexy beneath a jean miniskirt that barely caressed her mid-thigh.